Hello, welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you've been here before. I am Grace Creates, and today I have decided to finally share with you my writing journey. Now, I am a colorist, an artist, and I'm also a published author. So my writing journey spanned nearly 20 years. I started in 2007, good old days, and I published my first novel in 2014, 11 years ago now. Wow, time goes fast, doesn't it? So yeah, I've decided to share my books with you. As you can see, I don't type them up. I've handwritten every one of my novels since the beginning, and I've decided to share with you this the way that I've designed these books and tell you where I started and where I am now. I hope that this inspires you with your writing or something. And so yeah, so we're going to get started. I'm going to put my huge pile away. I've got at least 12 to 13 written books. So bear with me. So this is my first novel, The Island Unknown, which just so happens to be my first published novel. So there it is. So this was the first one I published in 2014. Later on, I will be telling about my publishing journey, but I'm gonna do that as a separate video because it's an experience in itself, and it's been a journey, been quite a roller coaster ride. So I had a nightmare trying to publish this book, but there it is. So I first wrote this book in 2007. It was the first novel I'd ever written and completed. In the past, I had tried to write stories and stuff. I always loved creative writing in primary school and never got enough of a chance to do it, but I would always get so distracted because I'd start a story and then I'd come up with another one and want to do that one next, and had so many ideas. So this was the first book I ever completed, and I was very proud. And then I rewrote it in 2008, and this is actually the 2008 version. I no longer have the first version. I ripped it up and threw it away because it was my response to people not believing in me. But there it is. But so as you can see, it's in an exercise book, and what I like to do with my books when they're completed is I like to do a title page and a back page with a blurb, make it look like a official book. So I know I've done that from the beginning because well, I'm an artist. I love to be creative. I love the whole designing a cover for my book. And at the beginning, I had this dream of being a published author, but there was no confirmation of yes, I will be a published author. At the time, it was just right at the beginning, it was just a dream. So so I thought of doing it this way so that even if my books didn't get published, I'd still have this copy. So this book is my one and only fantasy novel, spanning nearly 20 years now. I have dabbled in all sorts of genres. I've gone fantasy, horror, romance. I've done all sorts because I've been challenging myself to try different things. I am planning to write another fantasy type dystopian novel in the future, but it's going to be very difficult. I do not have the unleashed creativity that I did back then when I was able to come up with characters and worlds. So it would be very challenging for me these days. I don't know how I came up with this kind of thing. Well, I was inspired by the Bionicles and, you know, how they lived on an island, and so I was kind of inspired by that. But I wouldn't be able to, I would really struggle to do that kind of genre. And so this is my, one and only fantasy book. As with a fantasy novel on an island that doesn't exist, so I've drawn up a map, and I've come up with crazy names. In the published novel, it actually has what I pronounce hard words, so it's got all these crazy names and how to pronounce them, because I made them up and people are like, what the hell, how do you pronounce this name? So yeah, so right at the beginning when I wrote this book, I had no idea what I was doing. I was inspired by Swordbird by, oh no, what's her name? It was published by Nancy Yi Fan. She wrote Swordbird back in 2007. She was 13, and I was like, man, I want to do that. Hence my birth of being an author. But yeah, I had like no concept of what the story was gonna look like. I didn't plan it. I just started writing immediately, and it kind of developed as I came up with ideas and stuff. So even when I first started writing it, I actually had no idea who the character was even. I hadn't decided who the character was going to be until the end of the first page. Kept kind of chopping and changing. The main character was going to be a like part dog, part human hybrid, because there's that kind of creature in this novel. There are people who have been experimented on by the bad guy, who's this guy, and they're part animal, part human hybrids. So I was going to do a part dog, part human. And then I thought, I didn't really like that idea. I came up with a character in a guidebook. So this book also has a guidebook, and it's got all the characters. And as I was doing this guidebook, I came up with a character called Spiky, and I really liked that. So, and then I came up with another character called Silver Spike, and so I decided that my main character was going to be Silver Spike, and that's her right here. So she's my first ever character I wrote. So these days that's the little nickname I give myself, is Silver Spike. It's yet to catch on, but that's fine. So yeah, in the story, basically she wakes up on this island. She doesn't know who she is. She's tortured by the bad guy, and then she escapes and discovers this island. And she discovers animals that can walk on two legs, crazy native animals that in this forest. And then she discovers other human animal hybrids, and they live in a fortress. And she's there for a while, but she has abilities like the other hybrids, but her ability is really strong, and she can't control it. So the king of the fortress kicks her out, because she kind of breaks the rules a few too many times. He's like, nah, I can't have you anymore, I can't control you, kind of thing, so I'm kicking you out. So she ends up meeting other hybrids like her, whose powers are like really powerful. They also were kicked out. So she ends up with them, and whole war happens, and so yeah, and her powers are really strong. She's got like a gold and a bronze version, and she's basically like unstoppable. So yeah, that was my first book, and it was a good introduction. I was really happy when I finished the book. Like I said, first time I'd ever finished a book, so I was really happy. And it, like I said, came with its own guidebook, which I've never done again to this day. This is the only novel, and it's published version as well, that has images inside it. So if I just look through, yeah, it's got images that took me ages to draw up. So I did want to do it with my latest novel that I published, but wasn't allowed. So yeah, so this book is really special. I'm really proud of this. So when I first published the novel, I was actually given a verse that says, "Do not despise the day of small beginnings." And so, and it's quite funny because I kind of hated this for a long time. But I've learnt to really be proud of myself that I did write this book and publish it. It's where I started, and I worked really hard to publish this novel. Again, I will tell you about the publishing journey. It's wild. So that's the first book. So we're going to put that aside. So this is the second novel. Again, this one has two versions. So I wrote the first one in 2010, and I wrote this one in 2013. So this one, it's a really similar character concept to my first novel. This is the first boy I wrote. His name is Lucas, and he, like Silver Spike, has his spikes. But his one's a bone, similar to Wolverine's, where I got the inspiration. And this came about because I thought about writing a sequel to The Island Unknown, where Silver Spike ends up in the real world. And so this is how this one came about, was because it was this, like, what would happen if Silver Spike was in our society kind of thing. How would she manage? And so basically, very X-Men styled thing. This kid is born with this disorder, or this ability that when he gets upset, he retracts spikes, and he ended up killing his mother when he was born. So his father, to protect him, locks him away and to keep him safe and keep him from the outside world. But one day he's taken away to a psych ward, and then he joins the army, and then he's homeless. So it goes on this whole journey. So I haven't published this one, even though it's the second novel I've written. I haven't published it. I haven't fully decided whether I want to publish it or not, because, like I said, it is very similar to The Island Unknown. I do like the concept though. So, but the villain is very similar to the recent novel I published, and which is this one here, Abduction. So it's like a villainous woman who wears creepy boots, and she's a psychopath. So that's similar to Abduction. And so again, on that part, in order to publish this book, I would have to almost rewrite the whole thing. I would have to change the villain. I even thought about changing his ability. So it's still one I haven't fully kind of made up my mind. But I do like the concept. I like him going to the army and getting kicked out and ending up homeless, and he meets a girl who's also like him. So yeah, so that's my second book. This was the first one I ended up painting, so it was really cool. And so it's got like the blurb as well, which I stuck on my tape. Kind of stands out quite a bit. It's funny with this one, So it's not in a 1B5 exercise book as my first book is. It's in not 2B8, I can't remember what exercise book it is. One of the issues about writing in an exercise book is that you have limited space. So I tried to rewrite this in 2012 and realised that I wasn't going to have enough space. So I transferred it into this book, and this book has 100 pages, but I still went over, so I had to like stick extra pages at the back, or staple them, I should say. And my writing is so flippin' tiny, and look at that. And that's compared to, let's say my first novel. Like, that writing is night and day. So, yeah, that was really difficult. So, had to squeeze everything in. It was really hard. I was really determined to just keep it in there. So, yeah, that's one downside of handwriting a novel in an exercise book, is that you do have limited space. And also, if you make a mistake, like a major mistake, you write a scene, realise you don't like it, you have to start again. And so that's why this one has 2 versions, and that's why The Island Unknown also has 2 versions, because I didn't like a scene, I didn't like how it was written, so I had to rewrite it. So that's fun. I'm a perfectionist as well, so that makes things even harder, because that's really escalated in my most recent books. I have written books 6 times over trying to do it right, to the point where I've actually decided to type it up on the computer first and then transfer that into a book, so that when I write it, if I make a mistake, it's like, if I make a mistake on the computer, it's fine, as opposed to doing it here where it's like, oh crap, I have to start the book over again. Utter nightmare. Yes, I'm weird. People are like, why don't you just transfer it to the computer? But it's because I really love doing it this way. It's kind of like publishing a book, self-publishing a book in itself, because I just love it. Like, you don't get the same thing on a computer, and this is how I've learned to write better. It's just writing and rewriting some more. So yeah, that's my second book. Next one. This one, The Day I Met God. This one is my second published novel. I would show you it, but a friend has it at the moment, which is why I'm delaying my publishing journey writing, because I'm waiting till my friend gives me back this book. And its sequel, which is our next one, Day I Met God 2. So this is the first time, not only time, but first time where I wanted to write a sequel. So the concept of this one is turning that phrase of Jesus is your close friend and transferring that into translating that into a real life situation. So I wrote this in 2010 and then this one in 2011. So the concept of the first one is, so this girl, when she's younger, she witnesses her parents separating. Her brother suffers cancer and she resents him because that's what caused their separation. On top of that, she's in high school and she's getting bullied, and she has an eating disorder. So one day she meets this strange looking guy with a strange name, Yeshua, which is Jesus in Hebrew. And so she learns he's Jesus, and she's got quite a lot of resentment because of what she's been through. It's like, God, like, what's up, kind of thing. But they develop a close friendship and Jesus helps her through. So yeah, this book, when I published it, I love the published version. I can't wait to show you. Actually, it's got a beautiful cover. I published it with Ark House. But yeah, so I'm really proud of publishing it. It was the easiest publishing I've ever done, aside from this one. But I learnt the hard way of the importance of doing research. And that's something I really regret, because I was diving into some pretty hard-hitting topics: cancer, divorce, bullying. And I had a experience with bullying and an eating disorder, but I didn't have any experience with cancer or separation, or my parents separating. And I didn't research into that enough when I did publish this book. So that's something I really regret. And also the ending isn't that great. I would have changed it, but the concept is great, and I do wish I'd kind of made it better, but still, beautiful published book. So can't wait to show you. So then I wrote this one, Damn It God 2. So this one, same concept, well, similar concept. So another girl who's struggling meets Jesus. But in this one, I dove into really dark topics. I dove into self-harm, depression, mental health, and with the main theme being, also she's a foster kid, and she's with this couple who is really abusive. And so around the time I wrote this book, there was a increase in the news. I don't know why it's so significant that year, but it was, on really violent and upsetting family violence cases here in New Zealand. And that really impacted me. That really touched my heart. So I wanted to write a book that dove into that. So in this one, when I wrote this book, again, I didn't do my research with this when I was writing this the first time. I basically, the characters beaten up throughout the whole story. It's really just brutal. And I also wrote a sexual assault scene, which I now regret. So when I was publishing this book, so I loved the start, loved the end, hated the rest of it. So I basically had to rewrite this book, and a co-worker ended up helping me, which was amazing. Gave me lots of ideas. And so I made sure when I did publish this book to do my research. And to this day, this book that I've published, again, I don't have the copy, but I will. This is the most perfect publishing book that I have. Like, the research was amazing, the publishing was a breeze, cover beautiful, love it. And I did a few editing issues. Again, I'll dive more into that, because that is a whole other story. So yeah, that's the Damn It God 2. So those two are the only books that have like one copy kind of thing. Technically two, because of the published version. But these are the only books I've never had to handwrite more than once. So never did that again. So yeah, that's the Damn It God series. Really loved it. This book doesn't look like much, but this is a book I named Playing God. This is like based on a series of dreams or maladaptive dreams I had when I was about 10 years old. It's a whole thing. There was this teacher who wore boots, and it freaked me out, so I started having maladaptive dreams of her like abducting me. It's a whole thing. So I ended up writing this book based on these dreams. Really wild. Anyways, where this teacher was the bad guy, and she abducted all my friends, and she was medically experimenting on us, and we ended up developing these powers. And so I tried that to translate that into this book. I would say at the time when I wrote this in 2011, I would say at the time I was really happy with this book. But this book nowadays, I will not be publishing this book. This book is off the off the books. I will not be publishing this one because it's too similar to a book I wrote later, which is Abduction. More about that later. It was a good in a way that I used certain scenes from it for this book, but as a whole I wouldn't be publishing it. So that book just stays as is, as a copy. It will not be rewritten and it will not be published. So there's that one. Now this one, X Game. Oh, this was a whole journey. So I first wrote this one in 2010 and then rewrote it in 2020. So this one has been like one of the hardest books I've ever written. This is one of those books that has so many versions, so many tries, 6 times. Again, I got to a point where I did start typing up chapters and then transferring it, because it was just like, I am not rewriting this book the 7th, 8th, 10th time, man. So so basically the concept is Daniel, who's my other only guy character. I've only written about 2, is Lucas and there's Daniel. So this guy lives in dystopian New Zealand. It's the year 2114. There's been a nuclear war, whole thing, and the North Island is a dictatorship, kind of similar to North and South Korea. So the South Island is the good one and the North Island is the bad one. So, and his parents are like in the dictatorship government sector and stuff, and so they're really strict. But Daniel's a bit of a naughty boy, bit of a rebel. He does things that are against the law, so one day he gets caught and arrested and tortured, and rather than executing him by the usual way, they trap his mind, or his state, in a virtual reality type place. But as it turns out, he ends up being a main character, and in this game, X Game, and he has to do like a whole lot of missions and stuff. It's like if life was a literal game, except when you die in the game, you die in real life. So it's a life or death, like high stakes game, and he turns out to be the main character, and he meets this girl, Rachel, and they fall in love and start a rebellion. But this book was so hard because I basically not only had to write a book, but I had to come up with a video game. So I've written it down. So like I had to research into so many games. Jak 2 was my main inspiration, but I also used Metal Gear, Tomb Raider, Crash Bandicoot, Grand Theft Auto, and I used other ones as well. So and I'm all right with computers, but when it came to like designing areas, I did it by hand. So these are levels, different things. So I really had to do some real decent research and designing into creating this. That's why it took nearly 10 years. That's like the first level. I did this on PowerPoint, very cute. And another thing I like to have a theme song, like a movie. But yeah, this one was so hard, but I was so over the moon when I finally finished it. This book has a sequel, and I do plan to publish it. This one I'm really looking forward to publishing, but it won't be my next one. So yeah, I'm so proud of this, like, and I love the cover. And like I said, oh sorry guys, I shook the camera, forgive me. And it's got like a blurb, like it's cool. So yeah, really happy with that one. So yeah, next one, Two Dogs. I forgot, this one is actually another version. I didn't have to rewrite. This is the one in the new version. So in this book, I'm actually considering publishing this one in the next couple of years, or maybe I'll start typing it up next year. So this is one of the most intense books I've written. As you could tell, I've written books about mental health, self-harm, family violence, but this one took on a whole nother level of controversial. So in high school, I had a really bad time, especially in my last year of high school, and I was dealing with severe mental health. I had severe anger, and combined with that, I was also kind of obsessed or super interested in the Columbine school shooting. You know where this is going. So in order to manage my anger, because I didn't want to tell anyone, like, oh, I'm having these thoughts, and everyone would think I'm crazy, overreacting, or whatever, tell me off, take me to the police station. But so in order to manage this anger, I wrote this book, which is about, so it's about two girls, again, two girls. So both of them have been bullied, but one of them kind of recovers from it and becomes this really popular girl, and she's really nice, and she's a Christian as well. The other girl goes down a darker path into anger and stuff, and so she ends up committing a shooting at the school. Super dark. It's why one of the most controversial books I've ever written, and one of the most intense. So yeah, so it's about their two stories and how it ultimately collides. And I love that concept of like two girls, similar paths, and their lives end up colliding in this huge event kind of thing. And it's diving into like how hate can really spiral into, you know, can really escalate into something serious. And I also wanted to touch on the seriousness of school shootings. Now luckily here in New Zealand, our laws towards guns are strict as anything. You cannot easily buy a gun, but in America that is a different story. You buy a gun at the dairy basically, so it's really bad. So and in the last few years I have been more braver to want to publish this book, because there are so many school shootings in America, like a ridiculous amount a year. I think there was nearly 200 or something like that, ridiculous amount. So I have been inspired to want to publish this book. So yeah, really intense book, therapeutic as well for myself. Don't worry, that, oh, you know, those thoughts are dealt with. I am fully healed, praise God, from that anger and that hurt. So it's good. So Two Dogs. And continuing on the intense story, I have Abducted. So this is the technically the second version. I have the first version over there, but it's the draft kind of thing, but I've kept it like uncovered kind of thing. So anyways, so I wrote this one in 2013. I wrote Two Doves in 2012. This one I wrote in 2013, 2014 as well. And it's got a really nice cover. It's the first time I'd ever drawn a room with things like this, so that was fun. I went to an art school, and so I was able to draw this kind of thing, and again it's got the blurb. So yeah, this is the first version of this book. So Abduction, which I published in which came out this year. Yay! Again, I'll tell you about the publishing journey in a later video. Cannot wait to share it. It's actually really cool. Anyways, so this is the second of ultimately 6 other versions. I only have 4 with me today, but I'll show you the other 2 that are kind of like the proper draft, proper copy. So this is the second version. So this is the third and fourth version that I wrote in 2015, and then this is the 5th and 6th version that I wrote between 2017 until 2019. The reason there's so many versions is because the story, like I said, writing a book in this way, you've only got so much space. So when I wrote this book, I didn't really know how long it was going to be, so I ended up expanding from the books that I had, and I had to write it again. Ultimately, written it 6 flipping times. So the basic concept of, I'll just bring them out because these are the next 2. So the basic concept of all of them is a character is abducted and medically experimented on for a purpose. So I wrote this, like I said, 2013, 2014, and then I was like, okay, so I like this, but I want to develop it further. So then I wrote this version in 2015. So I was like, okay, I liked that first version. Like I said, want to develop it, want to focus more on the torture. So this one ended up being my one and only horror. Although it depends who you ask. You know, some people would say this one is a horror, but it's not really. I call it a thriller, in my opinion. But this one is a horror because it's just character getting tortured through most of it. So this one doesn't actually have a proper cover, unlike the other ones. I didn't even finish it because I didn't even finish it. Like I didn't like the idea. I thought it was too much. It ended up being way too much. And I felt so bad for this character. Like they should be alive. They should be dead after all that they endured. But so what I did, decided to still keep it. I thought about throwing it out, but ultimately decided to keep it. So after I'd written those 2 versions, I still want to do something with this idea. So I did a pros and cons list of both books, and I compared them, and I was like, I like this, I hate that, and thus this one was born. And this then became this one. Oh. So this one has the perfect mixture of, it's not too much torture, but it's a lot of thrill. There's a lot of intensity and stuff. And so, yeah, again, so character is abducted and medically experimented on, and the bad guy is a female. Surprise! It's a psychotic female doctor who wears knee-high leather boots. As you can see, really similar to that previous book, Plain God. Yes, so I get really sick of stories of guys abducting women in novels and movies. and the woman ends up falling in love with the guy. It's so cliche, it's so boring. So so what I did, so I wanted to do one with a female. Again, it was based on this teacher I had in 2004. It's a whole thing. Like, I might talk about that later, but not now, right now. So yeah, so this one has like obviously there's the main doctor who's like super creepy and psychotic. She's evil, she's sadistic. But then she's got this nurse who's a nice nurse. Turns out she was a previous victim. And so yeah, it's like this character dealing with the evil one and then the nice one. So yeah, I loved writing the story, and I really love the cover as well. It's like, that's such a perspective, which I wish they transferred into the published version, but that's alright. Still love the cover, and it's got the black back cover. So yeah, that was so cool publishing that. Didn't think I was ever going to publish it, but because I didn't think people would like this story. My parents wouldn't touch this book with a 20-meter pole. Like, they're just not into this kind of thing. They like action films, but when it comes to my violent stories, they stay away from them, and there would be no way that they would read this one. So I thought, like, no one wants to read this. I'm just gonna write this book and just not publish it. It'll be my version, kind of practice and writing a thriller kind of thing. So, but in 2020, I talked about it with my personal trainer, and he seemed really interested. So he ended up reading this book, this version, and he loved it. So that like kind of started to chip away at me, kind of broke me down. I was like, maybe people will like this story. And as it turns out, there is a group of people who love this story, including myself. So it's really cool. So that was really awesome to publish that book. Again, I will tell about the publishing story later. So that's Abduction, Tortured, and the first version of Abducted. So yeah, I've never put that off. That book took a lot of effort. So this is the sequel to X Game. It's not really, I haven't really developed it too much yet. I do have ideas, but I've started it, I haven't finished it. I've barely written the first chapter, but I started it in 2021, haven't finished it. I'm writing something else at the moment. I'll get back to it. So there's a sequel that is yet to be written. So that's that one, nice and easy. This is so I wrote this one in 2016, and it is called Skinnies and Fatties. Controversial name. Will immediately catch people's eyes. So this one is a dystopian where basically there is a huge crisis on obesity, the economy collapses, everything goes to crap, and so a group of people decide to, the world changes, and there then becomes this huge kind of disparity gap between skinny people and fat people, and the skinny people live in luxury and they're rich and they're well looked after, and they get surgeries to enhance themselves to be an even more perfect version, so that they fit into this new standard of body perfection. And on the other hand, you've got these other people who don't fit into the body standard. They're considered fat, even though they're not, but they are in this society. And they're forced to, they're poor, they live in really crappy houses kind of thing, and the education is poor, and they end up being slaves to the skinny people. So the story is about a girl who lives in poverty, and she ends up losing her parents, and she ends up becoming a slave for a family who has connections to the government kind of thing. So they're really important. And she ends up causing a revolution, as you do in a dystopian. So I wrote this book because I have struggled, among many other things, I've struggled with an eating disorder, specifically exercise bulimia. I won't touch too much onto it, but as I was recovering, I felt really inspired to write a novel about that kind of thing, about the the standard how women or men should look, and I really wanted to touch on that. I mean, it's been kind of looked at in like uglies a little bit, but I wanted to focus more on the weight side kind of thing. And I was like, how come no one's ever written a book like this? Like, I should write a book. And I wanted to really help people with their eating disorders, and with that self-hatred of their bodies. And I wanted to put forwards that that your body is, like, everyone comes in all shapes and sizes, and and it's ridiculous that in society, especially with celebrities, there is that kind of standard of like, oh, you should be beautiful and ageless kind of thing, like, and that's why celebrities get ridiculous Botox and they look like a stretched out plastic face. It's sad. So yeah, I wanted to touch on that, and put forward this idea that we are all beautiful human beings. And I want to reiterate that I'm not glamorizing obesity. I do touch on it in this book, and I want to put forwards that it's okay to be fat, of course. Like I said, we all come in different shapes and sizes, but it gets to a point that if your weight is impacting your health and your life, then you need to do something about it. So yeah, that's that book. I haven't finished it. I started it and haven't finished it. I want to kind of rewrite it and stuff. I'm kind of taking a break, so I'm just yet to develop it further. So that won't be published. This one won't be published for like 10 years, but so yeah. But I really like the story, and that's a goal to publish this one. So we are finally at the final novel, my most recent story that I've handwritten 10 times. Oh my gosh, you would not believe it. And I just want to pause and say thank you to whoever's watching. Thank you for sticking this out. I know with all of us having short attention spans, it's hard to watch long videos like these, but if you are at this point, thank you so much. I salute you, my friend. And yeah, this whole video, I just want to inspire you, because like I said at the start, you might have a story and you love writing stories, but you're scared to publish them because you don't think that you're good enough. And so what I want to put forwards in this video is that like that verse said in Zephaniah, like, do not despise the day of small beginnings. Your story, the stories that you write matter, and if you want to publish them, you do it. Don't let anybody tell you that you're not good enough. When I published my first novel, I was a little bit shattered, but I was really initially quite happy with it. I did have a lot of people bring me down, so it took me a while to make peace with it. But looking back, I'm so happy that I started, that I worked hard, and that I brought out this published novel. Like, that is a start. and you got to start somewhere, right? So yeah, and you can do it. To be cheesy, as Justin Bieber said, never say never. So never give up on your dream, because you really don't. If you work hard and if you love it as well, if you've got passion to write and you want to share your story, like I said, don't let anybody stop you. Don't let yourself stop you. Don't let your fear stop you. And that's something I'm going to touch more on when I go into my publishing journey, because that's something that I really struggled with, is fear of rejection, and it was overwhelming. So yeah, that's what I want to put forwards. So this is my most recent book. I was inspired actually by 13 Reasons Why. Yes. And so I wanted to write this book. And it was almost like my response to the very controversial Dark as Ever series. And I was actually this one was originally called 13 Reasons Why Not. And so the way I've designed this book, if I can find it, here it is. I'll just bring out, I've had to write multiple versions. So, yeah. So every chapter is a reason why not. So, and it's a biblical verse as well. So you are loved. Yeah, that's the whole thing. I've got another version of this. So so the story ended up expanding 13 chapters. I was going to keep it in 13 chapters, but it extended, as you can see. So, and that's really good. As I discovered that there are more reasons why not, and that's something that's one thing I wanted to put forwards in this video, in the book, is that as you might have 13 reasons why, but you might have 20 reasons why not. You may have there are like 100 things why not, and it doesn't matter how seemingly small they are. It might be because of your cat. It might be because you want to see the sunrise. It might be because of coffee. Love coffee. But that's a valid reason to stay. So that's one side of this book. The other side, as I have hesitated about talking about in this video, but I might as well, because it's a story, it's one of my books, so so this is the most controversial novel I've ever written, and it's not only because of the discussion of suicide. So the story goes, another girl. I'm not very good at writing about guys, sorry. So a girl wakes up in the hospital and she finds out she's attempted suicide. So throughout the story, it's switching between the past and the present and it's like why she attempted. So, and the reason is because she's this good Christian girl, really strong faith in the Lord, really good relationship with God. She's also really intelligent. She's like at the top of her school. She's in her last year of high school, and everything's on the line, and as they say. And so, but she ends up falling in love with her best friend, who is also a girl. Dramatic pause there. Sorry, had to take a drink. Yes, that's why this book is controversial as heck. So this dives into the concept of being Christian and being gay. So, and when I first had this idea like it wouldn't go away. You know, I had this idea, and it kind of back in 2020, and it wouldn't leave me alone. And it's just like, I'm here, write me. I'm like, I don't want to write you. I'm scared. Okay, I'm not the person to write this book. And I really gave it to God during that time. I was like, Lord, I can't write this book. Please don't. Please, I'm not the one to write this book. But I kind of broke down, and I was like, it's something I'm really passionate about, and something that just drives me nuts is that Christians, I'm not going to say all Christians, because, you know, there's good ones and bad ones, so it's a common belief that when you're gay, you're essentially a sin. You're committing a sin. And it, as you know, there's that Bible verse people refer to in Leviticus as, you know, you're an abomination if you're gay, and that's translated. And there are a lot of people out there who are Christian with seemingly strong faith in God, but they're also gay, and they've been really hurt by the church. Like, Christians have seriously hurt others in the LGBT plus community because of what they believe the Bible says. And I wanted to dive into that. I was led, didn't want to, because I'm not one to face confrontation. I ran away from it, but I was led to write this book, and I wanted to put forward the idea that just because you're gay, it doesn't mean at all that God hates you. You know, if you want to base your life on one verse, base it on the fact that the verse, was it in Matthew, it says, love one another as I have loved with you. You know, firstly, you know, the two most important commandments is love the Lord your God and love others as yourself. And God loves us all. And it doesn't matter who you are or what you've done. Like, you're never too far gone for God. And it's something I keep learning in my life. My very difficult uphill journey, I have learned over and over again that no matter how dark things may seem, you're never too far gone for God. And that's something I want to put, that's in what I'm putting forwards in this novel, is that you're loved by God. And it's funny, like I said, this is the most controversial novel I've ever written, because I've had a lot of people say you shouldn't be writing this book. And it's quite ironic, because it's actually pushing me to want to write the book even more. So, and all I want to put forwards in this novel is that you're loved by God and you're never too far gone. You know, just because you're, like I said, just because you're gay, doesn't mean that God hates you. Not in the slightest. God loves you. And if Jesus was here today, he'd be hanging out with the LGBT plus community, you know. He'd be hanging out with people we call outcasts, you know, the mentally ill, the homeless, you know, and that's all I'm doing in this book, and still writing it. I have hit the mother of all writing blocks, but I have been inspired to push myself. So yeah, that is my most recent story. I may not be publishing it for a while. I want to kind of wait until I've further established myself, and there's some other books that I want to publish, but I do have a lot of people already that want me to publish this book. I'm just not ready yet. Obviously I haven't finished the story, but I'm just not ready to publish it, because in publishing it I will face a lot of hate. And I realize as I'm talking about this, and that's why I hesitated, is that I will inevitably face a lot of hate in writing this book and wanting to publish and write this book. So yeah. So yeah, that'll come in the future. I'm praying about it. You know, I've been a Christian now since 2007. Funny that. Became a Christian, started writing books same year. And it has been a beautiful, painful, hell of a journey. And I just want to say thank you so much for, if you've gotten this far, thank you so much for listening. And I hope this inspires you. That's all I want, is that I hope that you can then look back at your books and go like, maybe this is worth a shot. You know, if you've got the passion and you've got the drive, you can do it. And like I said, don't let anybody tell you that you're not good enough. I've had that happen to me numerous times. And I had people tell me that I was never going to publish a book. But today I have 4 published novels, and I'm not stopping. And I thank God for that. It's been a journey I've taken with him, and it's ultimately why I'm still a Christian, is because he's the only one that backed me on my talents. He's on both of my talents of writing and art. He's the only one that he told me pretty much directly, don't you dare give up. And he told me this, so I'm going to tell it to you, is don't give up. Don't listen to what others say, others who don't believe in you. You know, they've got their thing. So, and you can do it. So, thank you so much for watching this long video. We have passed the hour. Yeah, so leave a comment below if you are interested in any of those books, or want to buy one of my published novels. They are sold on Amazon, the Nile, Barnes & Noble, like everywhere online. So yeah, let me know in the comments which book you like, which one you want to see published, or if you want to buy one of my books, then yay! Yeah, so thank you again so much for watching this long as video, and join me next time on Grace Creates. Peace.